This video is going to help you to understand somatic a little bit and energy work and how the two combine. It's designed for people who are into trauma healing, empaths, light workers, or anyone going through, a spiritual healing process. My name is Adam. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Before we get started today, I just want to let you know I'm doing free breakthrough calls. There is a link pinned in the comment section below. These are awesome calls where we will go over your vision for your life, what's stopping you, and some things you can do to really step into your power. So let's start first off with just a little bit of an explanation of what this is. I spent many years healing. It wasn't necessarily what I wanted to spend my time doing. I wanted to be a musician and then I wanted to be a comedian, and I am both of those things. But what I had to do was go through all my layers of trauma, all my childhood trauma, all my frickin' karma, whether people believe in it or not, on every conceivable level, from every angle, to the point where it almost drove me mad because it just was way too much. But in doing this, I've learned a lot about it. And I found that there's this thing in the healing community that really needs to be understood and bridged. I spent many years doing energy work. Some people may not even know what that is or the reality of that. I will cover that in another video in depth. But for this video, I'm just going to presume that you have some idea of energy work or a little bit open to it. Now, when I first went into energy work, I didn't really believe in anything, but I had such a profound experience, it became undeniable. And so I started getting really into it. I got into clearing myself, clearing my space, clearing my belief systems, clearing my subconscious. And then I got into much deeper levels of like clearing past lifetimes, clearing soul patterns, clearing, cosmic level layers and storylines, clearing off-planetary stuff, clearing cities, clearing the planet. And I only got into this because I noticed such an enormous difference in the work I was doing. There was a period of time where I would walk into a market and I would walk out and I'd be insane all of a sudden. And I was normally kind of insane, but like way more insane. And I came to understand that there were energy patterns, thought patterns out there in the soup that we walked around in that could attach and connect to us. And it was important to learn that these were not my bits of energy and I needed to clear them, and also to understand that there was a wound in me that was always attracting it, but I couldn't even get there for a while because I just became so enmeshed in all of the energy floating around in the world. So I got into clearing. And that was very beneficial, but it didn't complete everything. Because this is what a lot of light workers and spiritual people do. They meditate a lot, they clear their energy, but they don't get in touch with their nervous system. So what I then found was I needed to learn how to go into my body and complete the fight or flight mechanisms from childhood. And then what I found is that all of this relates. So what is somatic? Let me just get a little bit into somatic. So somatic essentially is there's three parts of the brain. I mean, as of now, there's a couple different philosophies about this, but some would say it's one brain, some would say it's three parts of the brain. I don't fully know what the overall consensus is. There's different opinions. The reptilian part of the brain, the limbic part of the brain, and the neocortex. Okay, now the reptilian part of the brain is primarily responsible for basic sensations. Eating, sleeping, I feel hot, I feel cold, I need to pee, stuff like that. The limbic part of the brain is responsible more for emotion. But there's not a lot of self-understanding or reflection in that part of the brain from my understanding. It's more kind of like the monkey emotion where it's just like, I'm just mad, and you don't know why, but you're just mad. Then there's the neocortex. And the neocortex is responsible for reasoning, thinking, creating, analyzing, all of those different things. So the neocortex, is what gives us as humans the ability to look inward and understand our emotions and understand our behavior. The problem, though, is that these three aspects are separate. They don't have to be, but they tend to be because of how we've developed. We've gone into this sort of sedentary sort of lifestyle where we're not connected with the rhythms of the earth. We're not connected with nature. We're not really connected, therefore, with our bodies. As above, so below. So we spend a lot of time in the neocortex. The thing with this, though, is The neocortex is responsible for creating. But if we aren't aligned with our body and we haven't healed the traumas from our past, what we recreate is our trauma. We keep telling stories in our neocortex based on what's happened to us in our past, and then electromagnetically, through the law of attraction, we go out there and we draw in these imprints over and over and over again. And whatever you believe in, it doesn't matter, because every person I've almost ever met will attest to the fact that they draw on the same kinds of people. They'll draw on the same boss over and over again. They'll draw on the same partners over and over and over and over again. This is not a coincidence when it happens 50 times in a life, okay? It comes generally from your parental imprint, dynamic, energy dynamic with your mother or father, or the two with each other or with you, and then through the trauma or the belief systems or the lack of love that we didn't receive from them, or thought we didn't receive, because, children take everything personally and don't know that when the mother's mad, it doesn't mean they don't love us. We then draw that in until we go into our nervous system and complete the fight, flight, freeze patterns that we never completed and now have a backlog of in our subconscious mind. Does this make sense? The animals, what happens is if they go through a trauma, they will shake off the energy in their nervous system and go back into the moment. And if they don't do that, if they don't do the shaking, the discharging of the energy, they usually die shortly thereafter. This is, Peter Levine information. He studied the animals in the wild for many years. And you would find that they would die because they still had the trauma imprint. But humans, we don't really die if we don't resolve the trauma, but we also never regulate our nervous system. So we just kind of go through our life in the neocortex recreating trauma patterns until we learn to access the reptilian part of the brain through sensation. And then from there, we get access to our emotions, and then we get access to our belief systems. If you just clear the belief system, sometimes it won't necessarily fully resolve if you don't get into your body. Now, here's the trick with the energy work. And not everybody has to do this. Some people don't have to get into the energy work layers that much. Some do. If you're a light worker, if you're an empath, you probably do. If you're having trouble healing and you keep repeating the same cycles, you probably do. You probably have to do both. See, you can have, and I know it's going to sound crazy, but this is from my experience, you can have pieces of your soul from other lifetimes, other places, that are angry at themselves for something that you did a long time ago. And think of it as like a piece of energy, like up higher in your energy field somewhere. That's like, I'm mad, I'm mad, I'm mad. Now you could come down here into your body and you could heal your relationship with your mother, because this piece could be relating on the as above, so below, microcosm, macrocosm. It could be relating to your mother. You could heal the thing with your mother, and that might clear this piece up here, but it might not. You might also have to go into this piece of your soul as well and release any other times, places, patterns that this piece has. If you heal the nervous system, but you don't clear this piece, it can recreate the same pattern over and over and over again in your nervous system. And the opposite is true. Okay, if you clear this piece up here, you might have a really nice energy field and a soul that's on board and wanting to have a great life. But if you still have your human trauma from your relationship with your mother, these pieces of energy won't land, and your life won't express itself in the way you want to, because it's about embodying the higher aspects, the higher realms of ourselves into our human vessel and integrating it fully. This is the beauty, the magic, and the importance of integration. Now, the tricky part to this is everyone seems to be a little bit different. Some people don't have to do the nervous system human trauma and the soul level trauma. There's a lot of different reasons for this. I can't get into all of them here, and I don't know all of them, but I know some of them, okay? It's very tricky. Some people, some souls will just sign up for a life where they're just experiencing it as human, and they don't need the human to get to the level where they have the awareness of the energy work and all this stuff. All of this is part of your learning energy. It's your learning energy, learning how to develop your energy skills, your healing skills, and this is part of your process. And one of the most frustrating things that I see out there in the healing communities is this sort of, there's division everywhere. And people, if it's not their path, they'll just sort of judge it and write it off. I particularly notice this with people who are more based in just healing trauma. They'll call the spiritual work and the energy work woo-woo because they just don't get it. And what they're trying to do, to an extent, is to ground people. They're trying to get people grounded because a lot of people who get very into the spirituality do it to bypass, and they call it spiritual bypassing. Okay, where you're like constantly off in the ethers, but you're not here for your human life. The problem is, like I said, both things are true. So like, for example, one of the things that I see a lot of times with like the trauma work is they will mention like people who have like relationship issues or love issues being stuck in this twin flame soulmate thing that's all woo-woo. This is a very complicated subject. I can't get into all of it on this video, but I will say this. There are a lot of manipulations around the twin flame thing, but it also doesn't mean it isn't true. It is for some, it isn't for others. A lot of times what happens is when we have childhood trauma, we dissociate and go into fantasy, and we want love more than anything else. So we will create these stories with potential romantic partners and hang on and get stuck in it, and then be like, oh, this is my soulmate, this is my twin flame, this is all this. And then the people who are into trauma healing will be like, that's all fucking bullshit. The truth is not necessarily. What's going on sometimes is that person is a soulmate. You do have a soul connection with that person, but because of the trauma, you're not able to realize that they're not available now. They're not available in this life. So you do have to come back to the body and face reality, but you're not completely crazy for thinking that because the other dimensions are true too. And then people will be like, oh, you're not in the moment because you're off in these other realities. Some people's moments are just the human nervous system. Other people's moments extend into infinity. But the problem is when you don't deal with the nervous system in your human life, you can use that as an escape. So it's tricky to not write it off and be like, okay, I'm dissociating, I'm bypassing, forget it. It's important to know that you want to be present and in reality. But as you start to ground and embody it, you will still have the access to the other realms. You'll just be able to work it into your human life more. And that's what we're doing. That's what the light workers, the empaths, all of us are doing. We're learning how to bridge the two. It's a much more complicated lesson. So if you're learning that, be easy with yourself. I can't stand when I see the judgment and the separation. So this is a lot. There's so much more to this. I'll do many more videos on this. But the importance is to understand that like as above, so below. So you might have another dimensional energy pattern that will somehow link to your human nervous system and also to your human storyline. Again, sometimes you have to clear them from both angles or 10 angles. Sometimes if you clear it from one, it resolves the other. But it all has to do with self-love, what you're here to learn about yourself, your relationship between like masculine, feminine energy, the integration of the two because we're all masculine and feminine, coming into your whole empowered self. But just knowing that everything connects, the dots connect. There's a reason your soul has that energy pattern, whatever it is. There's a way that it relates to your human life. There are lessons to be learned on a soul level and on a human level, and they're always connected. Sometimes they're slightly different. There's a belief system that will accompany it. And also the integrating it primally into your body as far as like shaking out the energy of it, completing the fight or flight pattern from childhood, from your teenage years, wherever it came from. So it's like the healing process is multifaceted. But the really, really good news is this. It is easier now than ever before to clear all this stuff up. And it doesn't take all that much work if you're committed to it. Things move so fast, they clear up really quickly. I don't want to overwhelm people and make you think like you have to go through 8 billion trillion layers of everything to make a huge improvement in your life. I'm just trying to get the very basics of how intricate this can be for the people who are stuck and want to learn more. And even just hearing this video, even just bringing this into your awareness can actually help you to dissolve a lot of it on your own. So what are some things you can do just to get a little clarity on this? Ask your intuition, like how much you need to know. Like, what are your lessons as far as the healing process is concerned? Do you need to work with your body more? Do you need to learn more about your energy structure? Do you need to develop your psychic skills? Are those things that you're wanting to learn? And it may change from time to time. I will do more on this as far as like how to get to the root of this stuff, but I just wanted to explain the basic dynamics. Please let me know if you have any questions. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I have a free energy clearing you can download in the description that will help you get a little more in touch with your body and clear up some of these patterns. I look very forward to next time. Thank you so much, and peace.